It's been a day for people, for the country, but we are happy and blessed. I'm blessed to have these brothers next to me. There's been a little bit of news before we get into that, though, man. I don't get to always see y'all or talk to y'all in the middle of the week, so I just want to know how Cass is doing. Chris, how you doing over there, man? I like the Tyler poster in the back, brother. That's a good touch.
I gotta keep switching it up. So yeah, I'm good, man. It's been a good week in terms of productivity. I've been getting stuff done. So
and let's talk about our girl Grace Jones. So that's the homage piece.
He stole. I just want listen. I'm old enough to now. I get to say, y'all don't know the original. See this? This is the derivative. Grace Jones was the original. All right, just wanted to put that out there.
Torin, you a big Grace Jones fan?
You know what? I like what she did. I like what she did, and she was really a groundbreaking woman for the time that she was out and everything. A lot of stuff the sisters are doing now, from Tiana Taylor to Rihanna, she was the blueprint for a lot of that stuff.
And Madonna and Lady Gaga, and keep going down the list. Everybody done stole from her. She's like the Little Richard of this thing, man.
A lot of white people stole from her.
Yeah, she got the backflips. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan, the second one. So, that's a powerful sister.
And my favorite of her, Boomerang, baby. You know what I'm saying? She was incredible in Boomerang. So, how you doing, Torin, brother? It's good to see you, man.
I'm doing well, brother. I'm traveling this week, which is why the background is a little bit different. I've been traveling for the last week or so. I'm in Florida right now. Surprisingly, it's cool in Florida where I'm at. I'm in North Florida, so I'm doing good, man. Got a lot of stuff going on. I got some things lined up in the hopper that I'm gonna be able to reveal in the next couple of weeks or so. But things are good, brother. I'm in a really good space. I feel
that's
good.
Nice, man.
Mentally good. I'm good.
And I was gonna say, Chris, I was telling Torin, we chatted briefly. I was like, he said about his background. I said, Torin, you always look like you've been held hostage, brother. You good? We just want you here, brother. You good? We wouldn't have known.
You know what? And I just want to say this. I recently found out that there is a green screen that attaches to whatever chair you're sitting in. Oh. It just goes over the back of your chair like this, and then it blows up behind you like that.
I know. I had one. I got one for Fuller, but sometimes it cuts. It cuts off sometimes.
I mean, literally, you could be anywhere, bro, and just whip that out and just you could look like you're in the Bahamas.
It folds down too, so you can just throw it in your backpack. It folds down. It's one of those wire foldings. It folds
like the mail. We know what you'll get. We know what we got you for Kwanzaa, bro. We got you.
I got you.
All right.
Well, look,
it's funny,
man,
though, you look at my old videos, I had a whole background, but I moved, so a lot of stuff was white walls, and I'm traveling, so it is what it is now.
Man,
y'all got the fresh studios up. I got to get like y'all.
Well, man, it was. I will say, it's definitely been an interesting day. I had a different topic, and then like the news happened. I don't know him that well, but I've been in space with him and on a stage with him before. Maj Toure. I should have asked him to be on because you're about to see a lot of black 2A people talking, I think, in the next few days. But we're not gonna hide the baby no more, man. There was tragedy today. There was an assassination of Charlie Kirk. The facts are he was doing his thing at a university in Utah, and a bullet struck him in the neck, and the blow happened to be fatal. And as of late, I just saw that President Trump has ordered that the flags in the country be at half mast. I think that's a step beyond, but just I won't give any more color to it. Let's just hop in there, man. Just general responses to that.
Man, you know what? Since everybody's quiet, I'll go ahead and go.
No, I was just looking at you, brother. I was gonna play the Cameron meme for you, brother, to start off. Like, hey, people get shot every day, B. You be all right.
You know what though, man? It's like this. We're at the place in this country right now where rhetoric is affecting people to the point where they're willing to take lives over it. I've never been a fan of Charlie Kirk. I've never been a fan of anything he's really said. To be honest with you, I haven't really followed him that close. I understand what side of the aisle he's on. And I will say this, it's ironic that some of the same things that he purported to be a fan of are the same things that took him out, because something that's been popping right over the past couple of days and something that's came to light over the past couple of hours is he made a comment at a conference saying that he's willing to take a few casualties in defense of the Second Amendment. So he basically said that some people got to leave here because of gun violence to defend the Second Amendment. Then so be it. Well, so be it. I mean, you name it, you claim it. That's what people say to say. So I mean, It is what it is.
I
You
did
know,
not
people
hear
get it
that.
out of here all the time. And so what can I say? What can I say?
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know what to say myself either because maybe two trains of thought right now. The first one, Torrin, I'm sure you'll be with me on this because you don't heard me say COINTELPRO enough in my lifetime that like, I'm a conspiracy theorist. So I don't know I don't know to trust anything. That's all I got to say. The first part of this is I just don't know what to trust ever anymore. I feel like we're all in a Truman Show in a way. And like everything that happens now, unfortunately, has to be underneath the banner of, listen, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I do know that we had like an assassination attempt on an American president, and we still don't know three things about the dude that did it. Which to me seems odd. In my lifetime, I never thought I would see a situation where there would be an attempt on a former president's life, and we wouldn't know every single thing about the perpetrator. And we just don't. It came, it went. It feels very weird to me, bizarre. I feel like I'm in a TV show. And because I know that we're dealing with reality TV show people who are now in control of the deep state and the government and who are already practicing the disappearing of people, I don't know what to believe. I watched this. I could tell you, I did not see this, Charles. So I've been like media blackout on some of these things. I've been 100% focusing on creative content, right? So this missed me. But, it comes up and I just think to myself, like, for the last 10 years, at least, we've been pushed further and further and further into this kind of like unreal universe, like this universe where it feels like we're almost living in a simulation. I don't know if y'all could get what I'm saying, but I just don't know what to trust in a situation like this. So I don't have any immediate judgments right away because I don't even know. I think like 20 years from now, we're going to learn a lot of things about this time period that we don't know right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm gonna chime in. If you're watching, please like, please share. We want to go deep in this conversation. And we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on, Charlie Kirk dead at 31 in Utah? I had a lot of thoughts. I mean, look, man, regardless of what's going on, still Baptist, still Christian, not the best one. I will always say that, but that's the point of it. I don't condone killing anybody. I was, he does have a family, got a baby and all that good stuff. I mean, my heart goes out. It's an innocent child or children. I think he has two. I don't know. I don't know him like that. I don't follow his stuff. And then the other train of thought is also, I've had a lot of friends die, man. I've had a lot of people die and there wasn't no half mass happening. He made a lot of jokes about George Floyd and being in the wrong place and fentanyl and said a lot of antagonistic things to black people and threatened violence and said he was ready when the revolution came and 2A and get your guns and, and it was a lot of pushing and prodding and antagonizing. And sometimes these things happen. And I was on with Tommy, Chris. We were actually shooting a whole different episode. We did that and the news came through. So we were reacting in real time and we got to have a conversation, me as a black dude, him as a white dude, and his fears around just how this might insinuate or push militias over the edge because they were just waiting for a thing, which I think could be true. I think there's a lot of people that think that, judging by how packed the gun range was today that I just left. It was incredibly packed. There was a lot of people, white folks, black folks. There was a troop of people that were kind of doing more tactical practice things. And it seemed like more classes was filling up. I'll say this. We had a conversation and I said, Tommy, and I like Tommy. He was really dope. He's not a fan of Charlie, but, obviously worried about where the country's going, right? What's the reaction going to be? What's the retaliation? Are people going, are these white boys that he activated in these garages and basements? Are they going to come out and do something stupid? And some of them might. If you a black person advocating for black rights or LGBTQ rights or any kind of left thing, I do suggest that you have security at those things. We are people, and I had to remind him. I said a few years ago, a white boy strolled into a church in South Carolina, and they prayed with that boy. They welcomed that boy, and he killed everybody in the vicinity. These aren't new things that are happening. I don't know what.
And the police officers bought in Burger King on the way. So yeah.
And the Burger King.
Yeah.
So it wasn't I don't know if we flew half mast at that time. We may have. I don't know. I don't want I don't want to be in my feelings and be wrong about it. But what I will say is, you know, for some of those white people, this is gonna be their Malcolm X. For some of those white people, this is their Kobe Bryant. For some of those white people, it is what it is. I will just say, if you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. I don't hate anybody. I don't want to see anybody hating other people. But this is leading up to something. I don't know what it is. Chris, you've been talking about these things, you know, Torrin, I know you stay ready in a lot of different ways. You're a Florida boy anyway. But I'm still processing it. I'm trying not to be, I don't want to sound insidious. I don't want to sound cruel. And at the same time, it's a lot of y'all was making jokes about that man talking about fentanyl and that thing on his neck didn't have nothing to do with it, or that boy shouldn't have attacked that man and his fists were weapons and all that stuff. And so I mean, y'all not used to this happening on that side. You're not used to it. And
let me take issue with that real quick. I'll take issue.
Okay.
They are used to it. They don't care.
Of their own?
Yes. And they don't care. They literally don't have, I mean, I watch people who are trained in this country to love dogs. I just see them rolling around in the mud with their dogs. I'm going out for a run with Spot, rolling around in the ground with Spot. They love dogs in a way that, like, I don't know, like fat kids like cake, I guess. I don't know. Is that the line? Anyways, I watch them love dogs, but I also watch them watch something like what happened in Columbine and then multiple other schools where babies are dying, right? Little, beautiful white kids with blue eyes and blonde hair, cute as can be, innocent as can be, doing a day at kindergarten. And if you are a father or a parent, the idea that your kids would go to these idyllic little settings and have somebody waltz in with a gun they weren't supposed to have and wipe out kindergartners. And second, there is no shame. There is no level of empathy that these people are capable of. And by these people, I mean the ones who this won't be any more of a wake-up call than any of the 5 or 10 last things that happened, where they themselves, there is a level of being committed to a cult or to a situation so much so that you can absorb. You could just absorb these type of things and move on with it. Because what was the one? I'm spacing on the name. What was the school?
Which one?
The one that during the
Uvalde, Texas.
No, the crazy dude who killed his mom first and then went to the school and shot up the kids. So.
Which one? You got to.
It's crazy, and the fact that we can't name.
This was a big one. This was like during Obama's time. It was a big one because this is the one where I thought to myself, "This will change everything."
You talking about Sandy Hook?
There you go. That's it.
I didn't know he killed his mom first.
Yeah, he killed his mom first. His mom, he's crazy. His mom buys him guns. He kills her first, and then he goes to the school and he shoots up all those other kids. And I say to myself at that point, this is when everything's going to change. Like America can't stomach this one. I mean, you got beautiful, bright little kindergartners. This is going to be the end. And it would make you sick if you ever saw any of the leaked scene pictures. And I haven't seen many of them, but 1 or 2 came across. And I thought to myself, this has got to change everything. And it didn't. It didn't. I mean, when I mentioned Columbine, that's the OG of these things.
Absolutely.
I do want to say this. Chris, I do want to say this. I feel like at this point, it's not even so much about gun violence, even though gun violence and the Second Amendment is a big part of this. I think the real danger here is the way this is already being spun. It hasn't even been 3 hours yet. This is being spun by the far right. Is like those damn dark people got him and stuff. They got our spokesperson and everything. So now we got to take action. And I think the real danger that's going to happen here is this is going to inspire somebody like one of the people like Charles was saying earlier, somebody who feels like they got to go out here and avenge Charlie Kirk when we still don't even have the facts in. Because remember, at first they said it was an old white man that took him out, but then it turned out the white man that he had on the ground wasn't the shooter, and the shooter still hasn't been. They got somebody in custody apparently, but they haven't released any pictures. And you know, one thing that that demographic does love to do, they love a revenge story. There's a reason going all the way back to Death Wish, going all the way back to The Mechanic, going all the way back to Dirty Harry. They love this idea of the lone individual, whether it's John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson. standing against the dark horde.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to stop. I'm gonna need you to stop right here, right now.
How
Right?
so?
Because you naming off good movies now.
I knew he was going to say something about from his generation. Like, hold on.
And you trying to get good movies involved in stuff they ain't got nothing to do with.
The quality of the movie ain't got nothing to do. I'm talking about the storytelling.
Bronson and Charles
no. Trust me. I know you. Trust. We're just calm down, comic book guy. I got you. I'm gonna bring you in. Just let me do this. Let me cook. What I'm saying is this.
You listen with Charles Bronson. You better stop. Go ahead.
If you look at the history of what was going on at that time, because I'm gonna bring it into this. There was a lot of apathy in America. We had just come out of the civil rights movement, Vietnam. People had got sour on Vietnam. People were really against the police forces and everything like that. And if you look at the climate when those movies came in, there was this that was sort of the beginning of the angry white man in modern cinema, where you got this one cop who's fighting all this red tape, or you got this one lone white guy who's against this horde, and he's got to take the law into his own hands. And I feel like what's going to happen with this is you're going to see a resurgence of that. Well, I won't say a resurgence because it's always been bubbling under. I feel like this might be a catalyst for somebody to go out here and pull something like this and go out and feel like they got the advantage Charlie Kirk against people who we don't even know had anything to do with this. You know what I mean? We still don't know what the details are. So I think that's what's going to be the real danger. And back to Charles's point, I think that Black people who are politically involved, Black people who are politically visible, do need to be very, very aware, and they do need to be adamant about protecting themselves. I know some of y'all. Mark Lamont Hill ain't gonna be able to forgive everybody for everything and stuff. You're gonna have to be aware of some stuff because people out here you just don't know, man. When those people get pushed into get their backs against the wall, all kind of things can happen. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it's like when the attack at Chappelle happened, like, and then you start seeing all these other attacks at comedy shows, right? Like, it's like you have to. All it takes is for a little bit to bubble up and for some of these people to feel a little froggy. Chris, I say this because I care about you. You're an outspoken person. I'm an outspoken person. Torin, you're an outspoken person. And we all know a lot of outspoken Black people fighting on multiple issues. I think you need to be careful. The other thing that I want to, I had to explain to people what an armor bearer was, in a church, right? Like, I think we at a time where armor bearers got to come back. I think that in the Muslims in Muslim spots, they there. Like, there are armed people there to protect.
Believe it.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
And
here's the thing. In a lot of Southern Christian churches too, it's the armor bearer. So for people that may not know, like when Jesus was when they was about to take him, one of the disciples cut the ear off. That's an armor bearer. Like, that's like arms to protect the church and those people. And you don't want to have that environment in your worshiping spot, but I think churches will be targeted. I think places where Black people congregate, where they're not on that type of time, I think Black schools, I think Black churches, I think you just have to be careful. I think you just really, really do need to be careful. And we are in a time, like, again, he got those basement boys, those people that didn't have no confidence, couldn't talk to girls, couldn't talk to people. That was Malcolm X, man. That this is a moment for a lot of those young white kids. Chris, we were just talking about, these white boys that are emotionally not regulated and nobody can really get to them. Charlie Kirk was getting to those people. Charlie Kirk was just on South Park. Like, he had transcended into something else to those people. I hope nothing happens, but I think if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I really just mean that. If we had a one of the talks that we used to do, and if we were in Chicago, it's on me. I'm just letting you know. Like, it's just, you just got to be careful, man. I really think some retaliation from somewhere is going to happen. I hope and pray to God that it doesn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I see Chris's face. I didn't say nothing about Action Bronson, brother. I didn't.
I got pushed back on all these things. I always got pushed back. So the first one, number one, is Charles Bronson made very good movies, and the people that died in those movies, the people who died in those movies deserve to die. That's like, they deserve it, right? And the Dirty Harry movies, he only killed people that deserve to die. Like, we didn't come to a time where we don't know the good guy from the bad guy. When kids say we lost the plot, we have lost the plot, because now the bad guys. But the bad guys rule the roost right now. We need a Charles Bronson movie right now to remind people. Listen, when Superman, the movie just came out, people got mad at Superman because Superman was fighting on the right side of justice in this last movie, right? This last, I don't know if y'all saw it or not.
Hurt. It was like, how Superman getting beat up? They
Superman were mad. They were mad. Like, what do you mean he's fighting for the revolutionaries? Why would he fight for the revolution? I'm like, listen, because he's the good guy. You guys forgot about this. But anyways, I'm joking. I'm joking when I say all that. I am going to say this, pushing back on several things, though. The first one is just, I don't think we're ready for anything real. I feel like I've been saying this like a crazy person for 2 years. We're addicted to entertainment. None of this is going to matter. We will get slaughtered. If there is something serious that happens or whatnot, I'm going to be the one who's going to put it out in the world that we got a whole bunch of sloths who like to talk good shit, but ain't aware of anything. They're not aware of what's going to happen in 30 minutes from now. They're not aware. They weren't aware of what happened last week, and they definitely weren't aware of what happened last November. Right. So if it is one of those situations where people have been saying for like 10 months now, if anything ever really bad popped off, we're going to be in real trouble or whatnot, and people still went in there and voted for Charlie Kirk, we're in trouble. We're just in trouble. Listen, I'm glad that we have some thugs. I'm glad we got some gang members. I'm glad we got some incarcerated people who understand what real looks like. I'm glad we have some sheriffs in the world who are out there like lip sweeping with bears at night and hunting deers and stuff like that and skinning things. I'm glad that we have some sportsmen in Louisiana and places like that who know how to skin a fish and live in the woods. I'm glad we have some people like that, right? If something were to happen, I just named the people that would be ready, and I've been saying that since probably the 80s, that if anything popped off, these are the people that you malign right now. You can malign them all you want, but they're probably the ones that are the most ready. But in between them and everybody else, it's not like we got the strongest defense system. It's not like we got an Iron Dome. It's not like we still have the Black Panthers around telling everybody, culturally speaking, part of being Black in America is being everything you just said, Charles. Being aware, first of all, woke of what could happen, and don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep, because I'm telling you right now, this is what they were telling us back then. Stop believing in all this TV stuff. Stop believing in all this, kind of artificial stuff or whatever. And, they got maligned for that message. And people did go to sleep, and they did get jobs in nonprofits. And the revolutionaries did leave the revolution and go and get perms. Like, a lot of stuff happened. So we are perm culture now, right? Or what my good brother Torrin might say is a septum ring. Now, we didn't graduate. So you see, my day was perms, right? And curls. I guess Torrin now is an advanced.
No, I don't mean to cut you. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. I do
want to say that.
Rambling, so I'm rambling. Go ahead.
That septum ring theory that got me so many got me so many places, man, is wild.
As it should.
90% more than some of the hard writing I've done, but I've gotten on TV shows. But anyway, here's the thing about that. My point with the septum ring thing, one of the points is a lot of that stuff is about image, because if you look at when I talk politically about the septum ring, it's the people who I consider like Sam White on Dear White People. They talk a good game. All of them got podcasts. All of them got this stuff talking about we're not our ancestors and putting their fist up and everything like that. But we all know if some stuff was to go down, they're gonna lose control of their functions and they're gonna curl up in the fetal position. They is not built for this. You know what I mean? And a lot of these and I got to say this too, and I hate to say it, but it's the truth. A lot of these brothers you talking about, either the goons, the ex-goons, the cats who wear rags, all that type of stuff, they only do that with each other. If a drone pulls up, them brothers going up on they're hiding and getting on the ground like everybody else.
All I'm saying though, just one thing. I'm not saying they're probably most ready though. That's all I'm saying about them. If you got one of them in your family, stay close.
But what I'm saying, but here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying with that though. The point is, even with that, if you don't have training and you're not politically aware and you don't have an agenda and you don't have a direction, being ready don't get you nowhere. You know what I mean? You can be ready in your bed and the drone will still hit you. You know what I mean?
That's true.
You got to be. And I'm just saying that to say that a lot of this, we don't like to talk about this, but I think it's getting to the point where Black people really got to start talking about this stuff. We love to do this.
Right.
If this was this, we'd have a whole country and the government if this here was actual action. We can do this all damn day long, but that ain't getting us nowhere. We've got 120 years of this here. If we don't stop doing it, start putting some action behind some stuff and some awareness back in our system and our people, ain't none of this gonna matter.
I mean, that's the thing, right? And you boys know where I was at today. You know what I was doing today. I do it every 2 weeks, and definitely made sure I was there today, right? And making sure I got the things that I need. But again, if I can't fight no drone, right? But I'm just saying, be alert. Be alert. Like I'm saying, like even our churches, our most vulnerable spaces. Like this is the time where people said men don't have a role. Men ain't got it's role time now. There's some like, how are you protecting your neighborhood? And I believe in the basics, the basic level of agency. And there's 3 things, and you don't have to use that term, but awareness, navigation, and duty. Are you aware of what is happening, what is around, the resurgence? Like I had to explain to somebody today, the KKK came up, and I was like, the KKK had 3 different resurgence levels, right? There were 3 different resurgences. And people don't understand, like when Birth of a Nation came out, the KKK wasn't as strong as it was. When they played Birth of a Nation at the White House, it was the second coming of the KKK, a different KKK, one that wasn't just out with the sheets, but like, now I'm the police chief. Now I'm this person. This is one of those things where it could be the 4th rise of that, right? In a different way. It won't look the same. It might not sound the same, but you got to be aware of what can be happening. Navigation. How are you moving during these times? How are you speaking? How does the conversation at the water cooler go tomorrow if you got a regular 9 to 5? See, this is now like questions where it's like, you don't know where people stand. And Charlie Kirk, if you can yell at 5 people and be like, and nobody said they was a Charlie Kirk fan. Well, somebody was a fan. He had a lot of them. He had a bunch of them, right? And they usually don't wear that on their sleeve unless they little kids. And then duty. This is where this is big for us, and we 3 Black men. If I'm in a space and there are children and women around and something is popping off, there's a duty to those people. There's a duty. And too many things have happened on Black church soils. Too many things have happened in Black spaces and with no recoil, with nothing that came from it. So again, there's a lot of emotion that's happening tonight. Like, and I saw there was one post that said, I hated most of what he said, but his death still feels very wrong. I saw that Van Lathan had a comment similar to this, and our very own Torrin Walker, Chris Stewart, surprise, surprise, Torrin is out there starting some shit again. So Torrin, what happened with you and the good brother Van? I like Van, Torrin.
Nothing really happened. He put out this tweet that said, which I wasn't really surprised somebody was going to say because I knew it was coming. He basically said that I feel compassion for what happened to him, and I don't have it verbatim, but he basically went this whole thing that a lot of talking heads do, Black talking heads, when somebody who's racist gets murked. It's like, I'm sorry for what happened to him, and he didn't deserve what he got. And I basically said, look, man, I'm tired of seeing prominent Black people do this saving everybody thing and having compassion for people who hate us, man. Cut that bullshit out. That's what I said. And I'm just saying, man. I'm just being honest. That look, I don't rejoice in that man's death, but at the same time, I'm not finna go out here and throw my body over somebody who would do the same for somebody who looks like me. And if somebody who was a prominent Black speaker got murked, guarantee you they would have jokes and everything like that. So I'm like this. This is what the universe said they wanted to happen. So who am I to fight the universe? That's the way I feel about it. We got to stop that damn compassion with people who hate our guts. It's time to let that go. That's all I said.
Yeah, I feel like a broken record on some of this, but it's because I gotta be. And somebody watched this since the 1990s. Charles, you always like talk about my Doc Martens that I wear.
Yes, I do.
You talk about my Doc Martens because you don't remember the skinhead 90s, but if you were there in the 90s and you knew what was going on back then, there was a subterranean group of networks, multiple networks. And when the internet came alive, they were all rejoicing and connecting. There was a whole white supremacist underground online, and they were showing up in cities doing things in different cities, killing a Black man at a bus shelter or dragging a Black man in Texas or whatever. And then they would go online and they had like what today we would call the dark web. Back then it was really dark. It was really theirs, and they had their own place in it. And they were bragging about things that they were doing. They were hitting and popping people across the country, right? And this was a skinhead thing. It was the Aryan Nation. It was Stormfront. It was like all these different kind of 4chan things, what became 4chan, all of that. That was all fringe behavior. So David Duke and a few others from the Aryan Nation, when they became prominent nationally, the mainstream didn't want to have nothing to do with them. The Republican Party didn't want to have nothing to do with them. Nobody, they malign those folks and put them to the side. David Duke was like, no, I'm going to run as a Republican. I'm going to run as a Republican in Louisiana. I'm going to try and win. And they were like, no. The Republicans were like, no, you better back up. You are not one of us. We are not one of you, blah, 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 blah. And David Duke told you 5 years ago that the crystallization of his vision has taken place in Trump. He was one of the first ones who said, I don't know if y'all remember this. We talked about it before. David Duke got a plastic surgery to look more mainstream. He took off the hoods and all that type of stuff, started wearing suits, and then ran and won. People looked this up. My man won as a Republican. The Republican establishment was like, oh no, we got to stomp this out. We can't have any more of this, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, I'll get you. I'll wait you out. I'll wait through Bush 1 and Bush 2 and Romney's failure. I'll wait you out. And then we got a black president. And he was like, yeah, game is on. Now, all that Stormfront, Aryan Nation stuff I just told you about, that is way more organized than people who don't. I don't know how we don't know about that. I don't know how we don't have major exposés on this, except for in white press and white media. If you wanted to read about this right now, you would probably catch it at the Southern Poverty Law Center at best in writing. But their level of training and organization has been taking place for a long time. Mm-hmm. The FBI warned years ago that they were infiltrating the military, law enforcement, and into government services. And then we elected them and let them get rid of everybody who would have any eyeballs on them or whatever. It's their world. I hate to inform people. I hate to inform you. All that, this is how we do it since the 90s, blah, 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 all that entertainment nonsense. They were planning a whole different type of situation, and they got it. They got it. So enjoy that legacy minority status, right? And for my Black MAGA people, listen, you know how people out here trying to talk about Charlie got what he deserved? I'm not saying that. I'm saying you got what you deserve. This is exactly what you voted for. Congratulations. You're welcome. This is it. It's upon you.
Right now, we have over 1,000 people live with us. Welcome.
Thousands.
We have it that we have.
Welcome to Torrance people.
We have 1041. We have 1041 and it's growing. I just took a screenshot. Thank you. Please comment. And
I'm sure I got 2 cousins watching. I'm sure I got 2 cousins watching.
I added and here's $10 because I want to do my share. Here go my 10 people, Torrin. But I will say there's a brother in here that says something. And I want to address it because I think he brings up a good point, and I want to clarify. He said, hopefully he didn't take it down. He basically was saying Black men have been ostracized from society, and now you putting it on us to die. And I was like, no, bro.
He kind of got a point, though. We've been through some things.
No, man, if you are in your church and your people and your family is there, bro, like, no, you do have a duty, bro, like to protect. Listen, if your wife and kids is around Chris, Torrin, if your people is if y'all in the building praising and worshiping, nah, man, that's in our DNA. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I think everybody's DNA.
I think what the brother's saying is because I think this is a conversation that we're having in the Black community. Even just aside from that, I think a lot of brothers, because of what this young brother said, whoever he was, is that we've seen some very negative things about Black men said by people who look exactly like us. And I think what's happening is a lot of brothers are like that automatic support and that automatic defense that we used to automatically do. Now we're doing like, hold on, let's pump the brakes. Let's check the Carfax first to see who this is. But that doesn't mean, and it's sad that it's got to be that way. Yeah. But I'm saying I do understand that mentality because you got some people who look like us who, if the skinheads were to come through the neighborhood and start coming in there with bats and stuff, they're gonna run out there and grab a bat too and try to hit you harder than they will. So I get that, I understand that. But that's where discernment comes in, and that's where having hard conversations about who you're around, like you said, awareness, like you said, that's true too. You know what I mean? And it's sad. And I think some of it's coming from the fact that some of these people who have these views have not really seen the real face of the things they're trying to worship. And I think what's coming down the pipe is going to be the truth of what they've been trying to hug up to and get close to, and then there's going to be like save each or lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, and I got the point that we made earlier, right? I appreciate the point Chris made about Sandy Hook and another tragedy, right? Stupid, senseless stuff. And my point still stands though, right? Like I went to the same elementary school as Huey P. Newton. I was born in the same neighborhood and grew up in Maywood next to Fred Hampton Jr. I mean, Fred Hampton, I know his son, right? Like you, Chris, you've met his son too. Like, we have lost a lot of our leaders, like, over and over. And what I'm saying is, for a lot of these white people, they have not lost their leaders in this type of way. This level of martyrdom. And I think I'm telling you, you got to be. There's some wackos out there, man. There are some people that feel like this is their moment. I'm gonna be watching the news. I'm gonna be watching the blotters, like, moving forward for like the next few weeks. I think that something's gonna be coming. And all I'm saying, real seriously, if you out in a public event, if you at a concert, if you in at your grocery store, you at your movie theater, you gotta just be vigilant, man. I'd rather you be vigilant and nothing happens than you not, and you get your head knocked off.
But this can't be the first time that you've heard that as a person, like, be vigilant. I mean, there were people in Las Vegas who went to a country music festival.
Absolutely.
And had some dude wiping them out at a country music festival.
Absolutely.
Like, what? We can't even go see country no more? We can't even go see country, right? You talk about they're not used to seeing this, or blah, blah, blah. They are used to seeing this because you know what? Because as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, there hasn't been one of these in Black schools. Now I think about it, the more we talked about all these schools, I was like thinking, isn't it weird that they want to take over Chicago because the crime is so bad? But in every one of these schools, it was like theirs. It was suburban, rural.
Well, those are the ones that get put on the news. There's shootings in schools, in Black schools.
But like Uvalde type level?
Many schools in Chicago, you have to have a clear backpack on. I want to be clear though, and Torrin, I know I'm taking up airtime. I get what you're saying about kids. I get what you're saying about babies. I'm talking about leaders. I'm talking about somebody that is responsible for the makeup of this young white boy that got out the basement because they follow Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about, like, that is somebody that they damn near worship that just got murked in like broad daylight.
I knew what you were saying though.
They're not used to that. They're not used to that. I'm just saying they don't have a Fred Hampton story, a Medgar Evers story, a Malcolm X story. After JFK, we can start going bat for bat around the type of leaders that they've had that have been assassinated in this fashion. I'm telling you, if I was around when Tupac died, I remember what that did to people. I'm saying, bro, these people there are some people that worship that man.
I was actually thinking about that because I wonder if this is their Nipsey and stuff. Because I remember how brothers were broke up over Nipsey and stuff. I wonder if it's gonna be like that. Saw
Nipsey, Kobe Bryant, Tupac Shakur, Biggie Smalls. Like, I watch what happens to people. Like, these other things are tragedies, and I don't disagree with you, Chris. I'm just saying this is a little different. What I'm saying is a little different around. If you felt like you was nothing, if you was an incel, if you didn't know how to talk to people, and then you discovered Charlie Kirk, and now you got confidence and you doing all this, and you just watched your leader get murked out, and you think a Black person did it. I'm just saying, bro, like, these are not the smartest people, and they're emotional right now. That's not a good recipe.
I want to give another example that ties into what you're saying and what Chris said. I'm gonna use another movie analogy, Chris. So you'll love this. Have you seen?
It'll be about good movies alone, though. Pick a bad movie. Pick Pootie Tang.
Hold on.
I love Lost Boys.
Did you see the Untergang? It's the movie about Hitler in the bunker. The last.
What's it called again?
It's called Downfall, but it's called the Untergang in German.
I've seen
Is that really that one where that famous clip is from, where they always use and redub? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's a scene. Yeah, the scene that everybody knows. It's like where basically Hitler's generals tell him the war is lost, it's over, the Russians are coming, and he goes into this 5-minute long rant about the uselessness of his generals and stuff. And these are career military people. Some of them are way older than he was. They've been in the First World War and the Second World War, and they fought through all three of them, all two of them. And it gives you all these men are standing around petrified and terrified. And the reason they're petrified and terrified is because that individual took a beaten, depressed. Basically, if you look at Germany before, from 1919 up until maybe 1933, they had the lowest standard of living in Europe at that time. The depression was going around. You see old newsreels of them carrying like money and bundles to go buy a loaf of bread and stuff like that. And they just got beaten in the war for the first time in their history. Mm-hmm. If you take people who are beaten, defeated, and humiliated, and you give them an ideal to reach for, they will follow you over a cliff. They will follow you into other countries. They will follow you into hell. And I think when you take that away from people, the reactions you get are going to be visceral and they can be extremely violent. And I think that's something that's very dangerous. And I think that is something that, like Charles is saying, we have to pay attention to, because when you take somebody's totem away from them, they either develop or they fight like hell to get that totem back. And knowing America the way we know America, they're going to fight like hell to get their security blanket back, whether that's another individual or taking it back in blood, no matter where it comes from. And I think you're right. You have to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we didn't talk about this on this show, but not that long ago, 2 elected leaders in Minnesota were shot and assassinated.
Yeah.
2 elected officials, right? State representatives, or
and didn't one get
government.
They stopped one, right?
Yeah, there was a third. So he shot a husband and wife together in the house, and then was going to go after somebody else. And the first thing the media did was, see, they're assassinating, the left is assassinating people now, is what they said. And they made it about the wrong people at first, until they found out the guy was a white nationalist, a white Christian nationalist MAGA guy.
Yeah, and then the story went away.
Then the story went away. Then the story just disappeared. Charles, when you say they're not used to this happening to their leaders or whatnot, there's T-shirts with a supposed bloodied ear of an former president who supposedly got had an attempt on his life and did some big photo op in the middle of it and got it on T-shirts. And the dude who did it, do we hear about this anymore? These are big events. It's not like that. They have been used to these things. They don't care. They have very short attention spans. In like Ashley Babbitt became one of their people. On something's gonna pop off. Well, January 6th was something that popped off. At the moment, everybody knew how crazy this was. Now we look back on it and we just kind of go, it was another day. It was another day in history.
Well, they wrote for that woman that died. They wrote for that woman that died, and people was like, "Well, you probably shouldn't have been storming the Capitol."
Who? Ashley Babbitt, bro. They're trying to get her to have military honors right now.
I mean, Charlie Kirk is at half-mast right now.
This is my point. This is something they are used to doing. This is becoming part of their thing.
But the job got finished. I mean, I don't think we really just super disagreeing. But let me real quick, just point of order. All 13. Well, we have 1,296 of you with us right now. Please share this stream, and when you share it, drop us a line and we will shout you out and thank you for it. I want to thank Hoodie Miles, who was in here. I want to thank our good principal Kafele is in here. We got we got some big dogs. We got Bill Conrad is in here commenting. We got Toya Algarin. We got Eric Williams, Devon. We got him in here. We have. I found his comment, by the way. I wanted to honor your comment because that's not what I meant. He said, "How can you call for duty when men are ostracized in modern society, but we have a duty to die for your family? You do, but I feel you, dog. It's good. But thank you for being here. We got B1. Please keep it coming. Let's build this community out. Let's have this conversation. Let's keep it going. If you have any questions that you want us to specifically talk about with this, let us know. Sorry, y'all. I had to." We are now over 1,300 people live. I have to manage our beautiful crowd. But I think people are tuning in though, because this is different. I think this is a different kind of moment. Like I said, the fact that he was just on South Park, right, being canonized in that, right? Like they got a martyr now. Like they have a martyr. And like I think sometimes we underestimate the power of martyrdom, dog. Like I just think that Charlie Kirk's words are going to take on different meaning for those same people than what it did 2 weeks ago. And that was already a hell of a take that they had. I don't, like I said, I don't think we are fully disagreeing. And I think that you agree with me on this. Be very vigilant in these coming times, right? Like if you have some kind of any leftist type of conference, you got to be vigilant, man. I think if anybody's planning these conferences, you got to hire real security. I just think you do. I think you have a duty to protect your people during this time. I think there was some people, I had some white folks that I was talking to. Some of them are afraid of like a civil war. They think that this might have been the thing that inched us closer to this kind of, this kind of joint. Listen, man, I'm just telling you how people reacted. I'm just saying.
Listen, you're very aware of what they're doing right now. I'm not on this particular situation.
Well, not just them. I'm talking about my own people, those people. I'm talking.
I'm not knee deep in this dude. I know him. I know like what it's about and all that stuff. But I'm not knee deep in this particular story. And I don't know that most Americans waking up and going to sleep tonight are going to be, but maybe they will be. But if this is whatever. They'll forget it in 3 days and put it on a T-shirt somewhere, like they've been doing on all the other stuff.
I think
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But my point in saying that is, if this is the thing that makes you say, be vigilant and pay attention and whatever, I feel like you got some road to cover. You got some territory to catch up with the rest of the world then, because this is the thing. This is the one. This is the one that should send a message to everybody that you could be in danger. Like, cool. I'm glad it listen, better late than never. If this wakes people up to be vigilant, just the very, what you just said is the most basic. You said it earlier tonight. They shot 9 people in a black church. A dude walked in, they prayed with him, and on the way to arresting him, they took him to get a burger. And now most people won't even know his name.
I think
okay.
I hear it now.
Okay.
I think I hear it now. Let me.
Okay.
You're talking about a different faction of people. You talking about our side not doing shit. You talking about us not like being retaliatory and going out and being crazy. I'm talking about that side. I'm talking about those people that worship that man. And again, there might have been people when Martin Luther King died and they was like, I don't know. But when their city was burning the next day, they was like, oh, there's a big riot right now. The blacks are really mad right now. When Malcolm X died, like, and there was that kind of kickback in the country. I just heard that because the church thing was our people. Like we didn't go out and wild out. We didn't go crazy. We didn't.
No, but you're telling black people right now. You're telling black people that we should be careful. We should pay attention.
Absolutely.
We should post up. Blah blah blah. That's still the same point to me. If this is the thing that makes you think that, like, that black person in America, you have missed events. You've missed events.
Does it really matter that much? This is where we are right now.
I
mean, this is where we are. This is what it takes to make people wait, because I think the threat is going to be more pronounced with this particular situation. It doesn't matter how long it took, as long as we get here and we move on it. That's my point. I think sticking on the point of how long it took is irrelevant as long as we get what we got and it makes us unite and we get.
I mean, it's relevant to me. I don't know about anybody else, but it's relevant to me that if this is the one that took you to wake up, you got some work to do.
I mean, we all got work to do.
There was a whole bunch of shit that happened. There was a whole bunch of shit that happened before this that people should be paying attention every day to. This ain't the thing that made you the most.
I get it. I get it.
I think somebody got radicalized today. I think somebody was radicalized today. The same way that Fred Hampton was radicalized by Emmett Till, I think that there are radical white people and white nationalists that got radicalized today. That's what I think. Except I'm glad that we had Fred Hampton on our side and what he was doing and the goodness that came out of that. But you about to have some demons that got radicalized today, is what I'm saying. But you know, to his family, like I said, I don't wish death on anybody. I know we need to move this along. Any final thoughts on this before we put this to bed and go to the next topic? Because the next topic is just as tough. So it's in the same vein almost. And we are now at 1,400 people, by the way. We might have to come back to this, y'all, if they start leaving. But
so that was calculus, and now we're moving on to trigonometry. We're going backwards to trigonometry, maybe.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
I think it's the same part of the reaction of like, you know, we in a radicalized, racialized moment that is different in some ways. It is a culmination of some things, but I want to let folks let's put this to bed. Torrin, well, Chris, let's start with you. What are your final thoughts on this one? And then
just pump up the next one, man. Don't make the people wait. Don't make them wait. You know, let's get on to this
for this one. So I mean, you know, I just want
ring the bell. Ding, ring the bell. Going.
It's all good. It's all good. Just be aware. Just be aware. That's all I got to say.
I will say this: I love both you brothers. I know y'all love y'all families. I love mine. Let's all just be vigilant. And you should have been being vigilant yesterday, but for damn it, you better for sure be vigilant right now. Topic number 2, Torrin. What are we talking about in topic number 2, brother?
All right. The next topic, like you said, is tied into the first one, but it's not the same thing quite. Some of our people have already been aware of the situation that happened in North Carolina. Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska, I hope I'm not butchering this woman's name. She was stabbed on a train by a gentleman named DeCarlos Brown Jr. Brother, she was on a train minding her business. The brother got on, sat behind her, pulled out a knife, started yelling, and basically stabbed her to death. It's a tragedy all the way around. But like the other thing we were talking about, this has been politicized. It has become a cause celeb with a lot of far right leaning people and a lot of far right leaning politicians, and they're basically saying that this is an indication that we need to start bringing back more draconian crime bills. We need to bring back more draconian laws, and also the undercurrent that's been happening under this is basically what I like to call the old black boogeyman theory. This has resurrected or given new life to this whole idea that black men are uncontrollable beasts that need to be controlled by the system or put down like wild animals. And I think tying this into the whole Charlie Kirk thing is something that really is important, because I think this is not being seen, and we've talked about this before, and I talk about this. This is not seen as one errant individual creating an abominable act. This individual represents all black men, and he represents the black Bruce stereotype. And I feel like there's a danger of other black men being in danger because of this, because it's going to spark this idea that every black man is a potential predator and a threat. So what y'all brothers think about this?
Chris?
I mean, that's a tough one. The black boogeyman thing, that's dope. Are you gonna write about this? Like,
I already have. I had an article.
Is it up there already? Okay.
Yeah, I don't leave no crumbs when it comes to writing.
Yeah, I need to dig in on that a little bit. Listen, this is just me being sarcastic, right? I'll be flippant about it and be sarcastic about it, which is they always find something like that to be the spark point. That goes all the way back to Birth of a Nation, where they made a movie that had exactly that plot. And the president of the United States played it in the White House and said it was like watching history being written with lightning or something like that. We're not one of the most crazy boogeyman stories ever, right? That kind of blamed all of the problems of the South on the black man, right? Whatever, right? So yeah, they are going to look for the opportunity to do this. They found it. They'll find another one after this. And what really works to our advantage in this situation is that we have really strong allies on that side who can get them to stop doing that. So for those of us that supported Theo Von and Aiden Ross and Joe Rogan and all of the manosphere on the right and the white boys, we made good friends that will now go take care of this for us. They'll go, now that we've given them the keys to the castle and they have the ability to write the laws the way that they want to write them, using scare tactics like a white woman getting attacked on a bus, like has always happened in history. We're in a better situation than we were in past history life, because we've got all these allies now that we never had before. I mean, we got more black MAGA folks, more Joe Rogans in the world, got more friends, we got more allies. And all they have to do is go now have a meeting with the right wing and say, hey, we really love black people. Could you guys not politicize this story in a way that's going to get laws changed like we did with Len Bias, for those who can remember, or like just use any episode. What's that?
It's heart exploded. Crack, baby. Cocaine.
And they made a law the next day, right? Mm-hmm. They find a way to find a story like that, and the law changes like overnight, And but anyways, we're in a better situation now because we have all these allies. The left-wing allies were blowing out like bad knees. The progressives, those weren't good allies. I mean, all they were fighting for was civil rights and shit like that. What we got now is much better. We got like Aiden Ross. So I just think we just call him up, say, Aiden, jump in your Tesla Cybertruck with Trump's face painted on it and go work this out for us, man.
Yeah. My thoughts are, man, I think one, I love Chris. I just do. He's just
I'm an asshole. I just want to be an asshole. Because you know what?
Fucking troll, boy. I love him. We're going to make these black boogeyman shirts, and I think you should be the model for him. I think so. I love it.
Let me do it.
We should have been the three boogeymen. The three black boogeymen is what we should have been. I mean, listen, man, I think, first off, it was heinous what he did. Fucking it was heinous. And he should get that. I mean, it's a sick individual. It's a sick person. Yeah. I'm not jacking that. I'm not. There's no support for me from that. It was just a senseless act of violence, and it don't matter that he was a brother. It was stupid, and it was terrible. And that cannot be the gateway or entryway into all black men or boogeymen or predators or whatever. It fits far too conveniently. And honestly, if you just go on a New York subway for a week straight, and if you wanted to do that looking at white folks, you can do that looking at almost any type of race. It just seems to stick with us in a different way. And it always makes me think, why would you be so afraid or fearful of 13% of any type of population? Like, just why? Like, why is it like, why when you have when you have Oakland and they got a few districts, you feel like you got to instantly like redraw those lines and break up that place so they can't have any sector voting? Like, why is that? Why is it?
Can I answer that for you?
Absolutely. I mean, it was throwing out some, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm gonna speak as somebody who works in media and knows the power of the media. Chris alluded to it earlier. People don't really understand how powerful images are, and they really don't understand how deeply propaganda has been ingrained in the American psyche. Like you said, Black people are probably 13% of the population. I believe it's more than that because most of us don't really do censuses and stuff like that. And everywhere I've gone, I've seen Black folks. But I think here's the thing. If you create an image of a boogeyman, and I'm gonna keep going back to this boogeyman idea, the boogeyman doesn't even have to exist. If you tell a child to get in bed or the boogeyman gonna get you, you know there ain't nothing in the closet. The child probably deep down knows nothing in the closet. But that darkness and this mind going to work will create a boogeyman for him when one doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. If you go through 500 years of telling America that the Black man is an uncontrollable, sexually violent beast, and if you get him close to you, he's going to take your daughter, he's going to take your wife, and he's going to cut your throat and then take over your house. You don't even have to live in your neighborhood. He doesn't even have to live in your city. You can live in an all-white city, and that specter of the Black boogeyman is going to cover everything you do. So that ties into why you can create laws like that when there's no Black people around, and people will still be racist against Black men and feel this way because the propaganda is so deep. And like you got to remember, we're dealing with 200, 300, 400 years of this stuff. Different images of Black people in mass media is only maybe like 50 years. We've only been dealing with it for like 50 years. Since the late 60s to the early 70s. And there's been a lot of ebb and flow of what that looks like right now. So I'm just saying, that's how you can get people to follow behind insane laws and follow behind things that have no basis in fact, if you give them enough propaganda and brainwashing. It's easy. It's really
you know what,
easy.
You alluded to something earlier. I just want to interject here because you said there'll be times where we will be some of the ones who show up to beat ourselves in the head with everybody else. So when we talk about this, I mentioned land bias or whatnot. A lot of us were behind those laws, right? A lot of us were behind those there's anti-crack laws and anti-gang laws and street. Like there was a whole bunch of us, like I shouldn't say us, because us specifically, I'm sure none of us, I'm sure we all read Emerge magazine. So none of us were like doing that. But I will say this much. When it came to that super predator thing, that was, in the 90s, that was some of us. There was a lot of us and blah, blah, blah showing up, whatever. So I don't want to miss the point that you made earlier, Torrin, is to watch out for those of us too that are,
you're right. But I do have to say this, Chris, because I've heard this from people before, and you're absolutely right. There were a lot of us who pushed a lot of those bills. But here's the thing about that. If you look at some of the early drafts of the crime bill from 1994 and some of the early bills that were going through the state houses, a lot of people who were going for that were saying, look, these communities, we can cuss our head, our communities are fucked up. We got a lot of crime and there's a lot of stuff going on here. We need to get this done. And what they said was, yes, there needs to be some incarceration for some of these people because some of them are irredeemable. But there also need to be programs. There need to be job programs. There need to be Head Start programs. There need to be activities for a lot of our teenagers who are out here on these corners with nothing to do. What happened was by the time it got to like the Congress, the Republicans at that time were fighting with the Democrats because of being soft on crime. So what they did was they pulled a lot of those provisions that were in those original drafts of the 1994 crime bill about like diversion programs, about like rap sessions, about like economic empowerment for some of these communities. And they made it completely about mass incarceration. So a lot of the people who were for the bill at first were not for the bill by the time it got through Congress of Joe Biden and Ronald Reagan passed it, but not Ronald Reagan, and Bill Clinton signed that shit. So I just want people to be clear. A lot of people like to say that Black people were for the crime bill. They were for the crime bill in totality, not for the mass incarceration bill that got pushed through Congress. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I'll say yes to that. And I do think that you had some people that became Black conservatives at that moment. Like they decided that was going to be their cause. So that the crime thing and our culture's all jacked up and the stuff that came out of that. Me and Sharif, we go back and forth sometimes about this Dolores Tucker thing. I think she was more right than I thought she was back in the day, but I still do think she was part of a movement that kind of felt a little bit like it was on the respectability side of the politics that was dangerous for us. But I get what you're saying. Listen, I think you guys just depressed the hell out of me tonight because everything's jacked up. Now we're talking like everything is jacked up. Now y'all gonna make me want to go and like listen to like a EU soundtrack for the rest of the night, right? Like I'm gonna have to go and listen to some go-go or something because this ain't it. It is messed up. It is all messed up, and we should be serious. And it has been for a while, and it's continuing to be. And it's on more than one front. It's like that when you get into a boxing match and you don't know how to box, and you're getting hit on sides of the head that you don't even know you had. It's a discombobulating type of situation, economically, educationally, in terms of the courts and the systems. Man, this is a full court press. Like we're getting hit on a lot of different sides at once. Usually, you have an opponent or an enemy that likes to take you out in one or two different ways, but right now it's too many things dropping all at once to keep track of. And this is why I think we need better organizations, better leaders, better. Actually, you know what? Let me throw all that away. We need better media. That actually is where I'm going with all this. And you all three of us come from some form of wanting to communicate to the public. And we need a better version of that. And we need a newer, fresher, crisper version of that. Because that's what actually we're missing from past days. You know, we're missing kind of the town criers, the people who said, no, I'm not gonna wait for the paper to print. I'm gonna own a paper. I'm gonna buy one, whatever. Anyways, that's just my take on things right now. I think you won't have the leaders you need until you actually have the ear of the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think there's a lot of complicated things that's going on there. I think it's okay to. Man, if you live in a place and it's just crazy and it's wild and you want your kids to be safe, I've seen people, black people don't just protest the police. They protest when stupid shit is happening in their communities and they feel held hostage in their communities. And I've lived in those type of communities before. And it sucks. And it's when you feel under attack, sometimes it is difficult to have empathy when you feel like the laws ain't working, right? You want your John Wayne who's gonna break the rules and be whatever, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of people that do get to play both sides of this fence and do what with it when it's convenient for them. And I just think that there are gonna be people that do fall into this trope. And I think you need to pay attention to who they are. I think you need to remember them because they will come back knocking on your door when it is convenient again to be back there. It's the same way that, after George Floyd, philanthropy wanted to give a lot of money to support black causes and listen to black people. And then they moved on for your black ass. And it's really tough. And I think that these things just come with growing up. They come with maturing and seeing how the world works. People are surviving. People are trying to survive, and the emperor has no clothes and you don't either. And what I mean by that is I think some of these people are still living in fear and trying to figure it out and save their positions. So if you are a journalist, you're going to see a lot of independent journalists jump on the black boogeyman thing because it's going to get them clicks. You know why? Because it ain't that they passionately believe that. It's just that that's what they think is going to get them people to watch. And that's a sad state of affairs for where news is right now because attention is more expensive and lucrative than any time in history with all these devices and things. And we got to become more media literate. But like you said, Chris and Torin, we need better media. And I'm in the middle of two better media people that I happen to know. Chris, you have a beautiful story about an incredible school in St. Louis, and it's not going viral in the way that that dumb shit does. If it was something stupid happening there, it would, but an innovative school where these kids are learning, or in Gary, Indiana, where kids are leaving as full-on fucking pilots at 17. Torin, you have things that have covered the beauty of our people, the strength of it, and how smart we are and how articulate we are. That ain't what goes viral. It's not till you got beef with somebody or somebody got beef with you, right? And but that ain't y'all fault. How we consume. I'm talking to you now, the consumer. What are you consuming? What are you giving your energy to? You can't give your energy to only dumb shit and then say that it ain't nothing but dumb shit out there. Well, let me, get out. I just want to say that, and I want to rep for y'all as well. I think
I appreciate that, and I think this point is. I'm glad you made this, put this out in the world, because Anyways, Torin, jump in, man, because I'll come back to my point.
Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Pete.
No. Look, some of this stuff is just media is some of the founding principles of media as we know it today. It's like people really love clown shit. And I know a lot of people don't like to admit that. And a lot of people don't like to admit
I
that to
like it.
themselves working in media.
No, I like it.
But here's
I
the thing.
do.
No,
Some of it I really do.
I'm glad you're being honest. But here's the thing.
Yeah, I do. Some of it I like.
I always use this analogy.
Yeah.
If you look at early hip hop, like I say, like mid-period hip hop from like 86 to maybe like 93, you could find 8 or 9 different strains of different types of hip hop if you had favorite groups you like. If you wanted some comedy rap, you had Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. If you like sex, you had the 2 Live Crew. If you wanted to hear some gangster shit, you could hear Ghetto Boys, Ice-T, NWA, Ice Cube. If you wanted to hear like Black Righteous stuff, you had Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One, Just Ice, all that stuff.
Mhm.
All those different, even comedy rap, but like Biz Markie. All those different genres were all encompassed under the genre of hip hop. What happened from like 1993 to the present day is when all those media conglomerates, because if you go back and look, a lot of that music was coming out of independent labels, independent Black-owned labels that maybe had distribution deals. When those independent labels started getting bought out by the major corporations at the time that was happening, the biggest number one thing that was happening in hip hop was gangster rap. So people who don't give a damn about the culture, who only care about dollar signs, well, damn, these Negroes love gangster rap. Let me sign up some more of that. And let me stop signing everything else. So let me just make 100 different versions of NWA. Let me make 100 different versions of Ice Cube with less talent. And let me just sign them all up, and they'll eat that up. They're like trash anyway. It's like that scene from The Godfather. Sell it to them. They lost their souls anyway. You know what I mean? And that's what happened. And that sort of thing translates over into the media we consume and the things that we find appealing and everything, which is why you get 300 different versions of dating shows, and you get 300 different versions of actresses who I used to really respect on reality shows who can't get paid any other way, throwing drinks at each other and wilding out. That's what we get. And until we say we're tired of eating swill and we're tired of consuming slop, we're going to keep seeing the same stuff over and over. And it's up to us as people who are in media. And it's also up to the consumer to get tired of that stuff at some point, because you notice if you put something else in front of the consumer, I don't want to start a whole Drake versus Kendrick beef, but once you give people trash for years and years, and then you drop it to Pimp a Butterfly, people say, damn, this is conscious, but I like it. And the beats are dope. And I'm really thinking about stuff. People will respond to that, but you got to be able to give it to them. You feel me? If you don't do that, then we're just going to be pigs eating from the same trough.
So a couple of things. One, I would love to know what year it was when the fan base of hip hop switched to mostly white, because I know it was a gradual thing. There was like a year in which there was a big story out that, like, for the first time, white record buyers outnumber black record buyers in hip hop or something. I remember.
I think Lights of the Ear was a watershed moment in that. That wasn't the beginning of it, but that was the start of it. When Lights of the Ear dropped.
I mean, in NWA, when they went on that tour, I mean,
I was about to say, the gangster rappers really did it. White folks it was like their Al Capone movies. They all of a sudden started listening to this, feeling good about themselves, like, you know, in some ways. And I don't think we drove gangster rap. I think all the bands that you mentioned or whatever disappeared, not because we didn't want them anymore. We didn't not want DOS Effects and Far Side anymore. We didn't just like decide one day that we didn't want that stuff. It just wasn't available. Like you said, NWA is hot. Let's find the next 5 of them. You know, let's find the next 8, 10 of them. Man, there's so many groups I forgot that had like 1 or 2 or 3 albums with them on the cover with Jerry Curls and Guns and never went anywhere after that.
Man, you know how many? I remember there was a whole bunch of West Coast groups they had on bandanas and wearing the Carl Kanai suits, and there's like 15 of them. I can't remember none of them.
You're not gonna mess with the West Coast. That's not the only. Like, listen,
I'm just saying. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, I got you. The thing I was gonna say though is, you know, we talked about this before. Your algorithm says a lot about what you care about. And honestly, this thing that people aren't clicking on and things don't go viral. Things go viral that have nothing to do with any shit we're talking about. Raw milk goes viral. Right? Mommy blogs go viral constantly. Babies laughing go viral. Service members returning home, go and look that up and watch how many have millions and millions of views. Like at EdPost, we've looked at this over the last couple of years or whatnot. It's amazing the stuff that does get traction, but it depends on what your audience actually is. Because like babies laughing is like one of the biggest things. Or no, here's one: scare pranks, scaring people. Is like one of the biggest ones. Now, there's people that just get off on watching people get scared all day long. Like, I might be one of them who likes to watch people get scared online or whatnot with scare pranks or whatnot. Millions of views, millions and millions and millions of views. I wonder what we do to study our own people about what it is. What's going to be the next vehicle for putting out fresh, crisp content that isn't boring and isn't like 10 years ago and hasn't ran its course. That isn't housewives sitting around throwing drinks in each other's face over, meals that nobody can afford, right? But right now, that's just popping. That's been popping for a while. Girl fights, gangster fights, street fights, theft, crime, all that type of stuff sells for a certain group of people. But how are you going to mix? What's the next big idea? I guess that's my idea, right? And my topic for tonight was around what happened to the Black newspapers. The grandparents won't give it over to the grandchildren, right? We have all these Black newspapers. That's a lot of potential. That's a lot of real estate. That's a lot that can be done with that. We have new vehicles like yours. You got like 1,000-something people in here right now. And congratulations, 1,000 people. Torn would like you to give each of you me $1. He would like each of you to give me $1.
There's actually 1,773 people in here live.
And each of these 1,700 people, Torn wants you to give me $1 each. Yeah, $5 each. But this is my thing is
love offering for $5.
$5. But this is new media.
You got to do it like me and put the crawl up. That's how I do it. But I feel.
But I mean, and we'll definitely get to that because I do want to have that conversation because I'm reading about the Chicago Defender now and just all that history and and the role that they played, and it's really interesting and fascinating stuff. But to circle back to this tragedy, right? And like, Torrin, what is the thing that kind of caught you the most in that crawl of like something you saw it and you were like, I have to write about this. I have to like go hard on this because I see something happening with this man that murdered this white lady on this train. Like, what this like help people connect to it a little bit? Because I think, especially with this Charlie Kirk stuff, I think that has kind of is in the ether, and I think that some people are either going to forget it or some people are going to try to combine all this stuff and like use it as an excuse to hate us more. So, what should we know about this case?
Well, what we know so far, and I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of what you're hearing about this case is so much other people's opinions and rhetoric, but it just turns out that apparently this individual may have had some psychological issues. It just came out that the FBI announced yesterday, Monday, that Brown got hit with some federal charges on top of the state murder charges he's already facing. The penalty, he could face a death penalty. The sad thing about it is that particular situation, and what made me concerned about it was, like you said at the top of the show, this is a tragedy. This young lady did not deserve to lose her life. She absolutely was doing nothing wrong. All she was doing was just focusing on just trying to get where she was going, and this dude snapped on her. My concern was when you have a Black assailant and you have a white victim, especially when it's a pretty young white girl, what's going to happen is that's going to trigger some things in the American psyche that could be very dangerous for any Black man in just walking the street or anything like that. I think the point of having a conversation about this is to say that this is an aberrant individual who did a heinous thing, who needs to face the consequences for what he did. But look at him as an individual, the same way you look at every other group that does something. If somebody does something in that group, that whole group is not judged and demonized for the actions of that one person. With Black men, it's a totally different beast. And I think as media people and people who are media literate, it's very important to make that distinction, because if we don't do it, other people are going to do it. And they're already doing it on the quiet. They're using a lot of coded language to do it, but we know how things get down in this country, and it's important to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm. First off, Eric Williams, thank you for repping for us. Eric said, I've been here. I'm not new on this thing or whatever. I appreciate you, Eric. I think that's important that you just said, though, man. And I'm right now, I mean, you guys keep talking. I'm pulling up something that I think makes your point that this isn't new and this is happening. And, to y'all's point about the fact that we need better journalism, like we've always needed it. Here is something, if I could get it up quicker. Here's something that I think is of interest to this story. This is an actual headline right after the Tulsa incident. Nab Negro for attacking girl in an elevator. This is the stuff that led up to like a whole town being obliterated. And if I went to the Tulsa, I went to Tulsa a few months ago. Chris, I think I told you about this. And they have an exhibit, but they have all of the original newspaper postings. 80%, maybe more. I'm trying not to be flippant, was blaming Black people for the attack, was blaming that community for the attack. Right now, it wouldn't come out for years later in these stories and these confessionals, but there's a whole archive of like all of this stuff that happened. More than 200 white and colored men, and but when you look at who was actually killed in that, right, the numbers don't compare. Around how many of those people there were, right? So I just wanted to make the point about how important Black media is, and like this is a time where when the newspaper says something, people believed it. People trusted that newspaper. They incited these things, and I think what you're talking about is a deeper thing, Torrin and Chris, right? Like I think Chris, this is why you do such an incredible job with Ed Post, right? It's like if we don't tell our stories, if we don't contextualize those things, other people won't just run with the story; they'll lie on us too, and they will make themselves the hero, and they will make you the villain. Because I don't know how Black people became the villain of Tulsa being burned down when it was just Black people trying to live and do their thing. I hopefully I didn't kill the tenor of it. I just wanted to back what you were saying and saying like what you're saying is in a line of a long history of these things happening, and people forget because they don't get taught history. And what happens when you don't teach people history? They're doomed to repeat it. And I just see these things starting to happen again. And Torrin, I think this is an important topic, and I think that it kind of even segues into what Chris is wanting to talk about too. But I just what are your final thoughts, if any, on the Black boogeyman? We can keep going too. I just feel like you contextualize it in a really strong way.
No, I just want people to be aware that we can deal with deviance in the culture, and we can deal with people that are being detrimental to the community, our community, and everybody else's community, because I think this is something that a lot of Black people tend to be hesitant to do. We don't want to condemn an individual because we know that every individual that does something aberrant is a reflection on the Black community. And I think sometimes we got to get out of that, and we got to understand that there are some people who need to be in jail. They need to be where they at. They need to stay there. That doesn't mean that all of us need to be there. That doesn't mean that everybody who does something wrong is not redeemable. But I also think we have to be aware that we are living in a society where Black people are already guilty by the fact that you have a Black skin. And I think we have to be aware of that fact. And we also have to be aware of the need for justice. And we have to be aware of the need for truth and to be honest about that, and be able to tell a story about ourselves and tell a full story and not just regurgitate what somebody said about us because of some stereotype. And we also have to be able to hold ourselves accountable. I think we can do all those things. We are a wonderful people with a multitude of gifts. And I think we have to start exercising the gift of having discernment about what to support and what to condemn.
Wow. Great topic, man. And Chris, I want to pass it to you. You can comment and bridge over to yours because it kind of segues perfectly into what is our topic number 3, Chris Stewart.
Well, I started out, I've been thinking for a while about Black media as the next gen. What happens now? Where do we go from here? And I felt like this is a good place to talk about it because we all three are involved in thinking about that question pretty regularly. And Torrin, I don't know if this came up before. There was a time where Charles was allowed to write for Huffington Post.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mad and salty as hell because they wouldn't publish nothing from me. And I was like, getting into certain media to me was my goal. This is my thing. I was like trying to write for people, and I wanted other people to publish me. I was self-publishing.
And I tried, brother. I just for the record, I didn't put my boy out there.
He did. I remember he sent an email copied me on it. And was like, listen, we got other voices out here, blah, blah. And it was like gatekeeping. And I think this was when you were there and you were responsible for doing that. But, joking. Nobody listening. I'm joking. I used to look for these brothers and say, we need more of this. We need more of our folks like writing in Huffington and places like that. That's why I wanted to do it. I'm only bringing this up to say my point now today is just the opposite of that. Like, yeah, we need to be in some of those places too, but we need to own our own platforms. And I don't know what that looks like, but the reason I started thinking about Black newspapers is because there's a little bit of infrastructure there that I feel like is being wasted, right? There's some really great legacy newspapers in some cities that are still free. People are still reading them every week, especially older people are still reading them every week. There's some households you go, there's 3 or 4 of them backed up for the last 3 weeks, sitting there, And to me, that's a very powerful position to be in. But when I've tried to assist getting some money to some of those people over the last couple of years, you run into really weird barriers of age. Like some really like, it's kind of like, man, can I talk to your granddaughter? I know you got her working with you here, but can you give her a little bit more responsibility? Can we maybe talk about like bridging the gap? Anyways, I don't know really where to go with that, except to say, what is the next thing? What is the next big thing? Where are we going to find the next thing?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you right now. I know exactly what you're talking about, and on the one hand, I absolutely get your frustration with people who are so set in their ways that they can't see anything outside of what they know. But at the same time, I have utmost respect for people who are able to keep an actual physical newspaper going in this particular climate. Because you got some white legacy organizations who are completely abandoned print altogether, and they're all on here. I think for Black people, you have to look at things from an intergenerational point of view. I think you automatically there are some older people who are not going to use this. They are never going to do it. They're not going to do it. They only use this to call their grandparent, the grandkids to come and come fix the TV and come program their email. They're not going to do that. But that generation is aging out. That generation of editors is aging out as well. And I think there has to be some sort of synthesis of using this with print and making both of them exciting for generations that are coming in, because nobody lives forever. Some of these people are going to move on. They're going to pass on a transition. And what's going to happen to those papers and that dedicated readership that keeps those papers going? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, because I think there's a danger of going too far modern with something and you completely lose the soul of what you're doing. And there's also a danger of being so stuck in the mud that you let the world pass you by. But at the same time, look, old people, editors who are able to keep a daily or weekly newspaper going in 2025, I will sit my ass down and listen to what they got to say, and then I try to adapt it, because you know how hard that is.
Yeah, it's difficult.
You know what they say? I mean, if I'm being real, they say, "You want to buy an ad?"
Yeah, because they got to.
That's literally all they say. And my thing about it is, they're not all this way, because a lot of major cities and a lot of places like DC and other places, they still got what I consider to be a very good one. But we have some in some places, we don't have a website, bruh. And I'm like thinking to myself, you know, it's not a thing about becoming modern. It's just a thing about like how many people can you get to, because those ad dollars are going to come in from different places, you know, like either way. Maybe even newspapers ain't the thing. I have an affectional preference for the newspapers for all the reasons you said. I grew up reading them. I still read them. And I think it's amazing if you still running one. I would love somebody just to say, hey, come take my paper, right? Because to me, that's a big deal. But what else?
You love J. Jonah Jameson and Perry White, didn't you, in the Superman?
Listen,
in the Spider-Man movies.
Listen, the Daily Planet was a thing, and I still believe in all that. But our Black journalists are catching hell right now. We got young people graduating with journalism degrees and don't really have anywhere to go. We have other entities creating new entities, new media entities that aren't relying on big corporate, right? And they're finding ways to dial in. How can we have different money structures, different structures of getting, you know, whatever. And you know, to some extent, that's what podcasting is. That's what YouTube is. That's what, you know. But I'm just waiting for the thing. I thought for a while something like Revolt might become a thing. You know,
they rebranding. They still kind of doing some stuff. I will say that.
You know, they had a situation they had to redirect their resources to, and I don't know what that's looking like, but I feel like they're doing something now.
But I was gonna say, yeah, they have like an education show. They have like a few different talk shows. People are going there. They're getting some big names to kind of do some work with them. You know, I think, you know, I've been blessed to write for some of these legacy papers. Like in Oakland, the Oakland Post, which is Paul Cobb was around when Huey P. Newton came up, and he also went to Lafayette. Me, Paul Cobb, Huey Newton all went to Lafayette Elementary School. But I had a column in that paper, and that paper mattered in a way because it doesn't do that great online. But damn it, if it don't still do good in those churches and those mosques, and like and people in the city knew me and they trusted me, and they looked out for when I wrote something, right? Because them little church ladies was reading the hell out that paper. Like I said, I'm reading a book right now in the Chicago Defender. I'm gonna reach out and see if I can write for them. Like I'm gonna offer to do it just for free, because it's just history. I mean, you're talking about Ida B. Wells, and you're talking about, you know, like going after lynching, right? Like people don't know there's a direct line train from Memphis to Chicago, and how Ida B. Wells exposed lynching in Memphis, and they got her ass on that train, and she never went to Memphis again, and she came and wrote in Chicago, and places like the Defender picked it up. Like there have to be people that are fighting for us, or even Nehemiah, somebody that you worked with, Chris, and the work that he does in Tulsa and retelling that story so people don't forget.
Or the Amsterdam News. The Amsterdam News gave Malcolm X one of his first columns before Muhammad Speaks and everything.
Yeah, and I have a byline in Ebony. Torrin, I know you got some crazy bylines. Chris, I know you got some crazy bylines too. Like we have contributed, and we are part of this legacy in some kind of way. So I mean, maybe we have to just usher in that new form of it. I mean, these other leaders, they just did it, right? Like Paul Cobb, if you ever read American Babylon, it's about the making of Oakland and all these things and these stories, but like it talks about Paul Cobb and his activism, and he was like, the best way I can be active is by starting this paper and like running this paper, and he still runs it. Him and his wife still run it. They're still there. Now they want some ads too, right? They definitely gonna ask you for some ads. But when I worked for Antoine, I worked very closely with them because the larger paper establishment was just lying on this man and wouldn't give him a fair shake because the unions had them by the throat. And even in the Post, they wrote some crazy stuff. But when we talked to them, they was like, no, you can tell your story. Here's the competing piece. And Charles, you can go ahead and have this and tell the story of our Black superintendent that was trying to do this, right? Or they broke the story, when we had a Black superintendent that was murdered in Oakland, Marcus Foster. And it was those Black publications that went deeper than like those covers. And that's all I'm saying, right? In these times, I want to know what the Black papers are going to say about Charlie Kirk tomorrow. Because I still trust that source a little bit more than I do CNN, Fox, or MSNBC. And I think while most of these news outlets are becoming entertainment outlets, I do think that the person that goes back to being an actual journalist can win. I have to believe that. I have to, because right now it's a clown show.
And here's what's wild about that. I think something else that we're not talking about either, but it's been in the background of the story. You talked about Charlie Kirk, and I've said this to Chris, and I think I've said this to you before, Charles. One thing that the right is very, very good at, they are excellent at taking people who align with their views and giving them platforms or platforming them. Charlie Kirk was not a journalist. Neither is Andrew Tate, neither is Nick Fuentes, none of these people. But every one of them names. You know why? Because the people who want to push their agendas basically made their media people like Ben Shapiro or what's the other guy, Matt Walsh and stuff. There's a whole far right media infrastructure that is up and running and is very lucrative to the point where they're moving out of doing podcasts and they're actually doing movies and they're doing documentaries. How come people let's just keep it with Black culture, Black media? There's enough money around Black media and Black entertainment. How come we don't do the exact same thing? You know what I mean? Why not? We got money for the stuff we want to have money for. We don't like to talk about that, but we do. So how come we can't put an infrastructure together for Black people like me, somebody like a Chris, somebody like you, so we can have a show and actually have a whole set? So me and you can make this a whole set.
I feel like, we got to talk about, again, what we talked about earlier, though, is like what people click on, what they like, where the traffic is and all of that. Like, I'll give you a question to your question and you tell me this.
Okay.
Because we've talked about this a little bit before. So in the middle of the TikTok ban, there was this idea of where's everybody going to go? And I went and set up an account at Fanbase because of this, right? And I thought, you know what? For all the reasons, this makes sense to go there. And it makes sense to whatever bumps or hiccups in doing it. I need to live with it, right? Because I can't be one of those people that come into a Black establishment or Black thing, expect everything to be perfect and, and then say stuff about it that I would never say about the white establishments when I go in there or whatnot. I couldn't be that person. But I'm over there by my damn self. And I can't figure out why, I can't figure out, let me take that back, because I still have a Black Planet account. And I'm in neither of those places. I'm in neither of those places by myself.
I ain't heard that name in 20 years, brother. He's still up.
You have not heard Black Planet?
I remember,
this is what happened. So they went down for right. And then I think it was Solange said she was going to put her album out, but she was only going to put it out on Black Planet or something like that. And that got it rebooted back up again. And a whole bunch of people joined, but a lot of old heads and people that want to relive the golden days. But my only point in saying that is it feels like we're always the starter market. We start something like one of these, and then another conglomerate comes along and takes it. We had BET, and then Viacom came and took it, right? We had Johnson & Johnson products, and then Estee Lauder and others came and bought it out. Right. Same thing with record labels. All our record labels got bought out. Eventually, they're just owned by one or two record labels now, but it sounds like there's 80,000 of them out there, and there's really not. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on with the Griot, but it feels like the Griot is having a situation right now. So was that?
I think they're done.
Are they done? They're over?
I mean, I don't think that they might not technically be over. I think culturally, I think they are. I think.
Yeah, they don't have the reach they used to. And neither does the Root, which I'm not all that upset about, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, the Root got sold too, right? Years ago to Gawker, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. And then Gawker got hit with that Hulk Hogan thing and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I think there was a parent. I think it was Gizmodo was the parent company, so they started buying up all these major websites, and then that whole situation happened, and that killed that.
Yeah. So it's almost like we have the thing for a period of time. By the time that we start participating in it is the time when it's time to sell it. So it's almost like as a consumer base, we are being fattened up like pigs and then being sold off to the slaughter the moment that it becomes popping off. Now, what we lost when we lost BET was we lost daily shows that showed us more reflections of ourselves than one version of ourselves.
Teen Summit was just such an incredible show.
Yeah.
Man.
Teen Summit, and then the after school shows that would come on, they changed over time, over years. The news shows, Bev Smith's show, more like a Oprah before Oprah. Well,
even like the smaller independent movies and stuff like the indie movies that they would shoot like on no budgets and stuff.
I can remember when Ferguson started popping off, and I remember seeing stuff on Twitter from DeRay and others who were,
who did? I'm sorry, say it again.
In Ferguson.
Okay.
When stuff was starting to pop off in Ferguson, I was on Twitter at the time, and I was seeing DeRay and others who had went there from Minneapolis posting about it, and I was like, "Damn, it looks like something's really happening in Ferguson." Blah blah, and there was nothing on the news, And don't you know, the only place that I saw it when I looked in traditional media for about 5 days, it took about 5 or 6 days for them to catch up. Before then, it was like Ed Gordon already had it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting this news before everybody else is getting it. Number one, because that was my first blush of, hey, Twitter is a news source, right? It's not like just a social media thing, but also BET. You had Ed Gordon back then. Ed Gordon was I don't know what you would call him. I know you mentioned this dude the last couple of times, Charles Bradley, or whatever. He's a Charles Bradley. Ed Bradley.
He was like the senior anchor over at BET in the way.
Yeah, Ed Gordon was like the senior guy over there. I think he was. If I remember right.
It was him and Jackie Reed for a minute. They did the hard news.
We lost a lot in that. And I just wonder why we are so easy to sell off to other entities, and then we just go along with it. We don't look for another black source of things.
I think that ties into our history in this country. We've always been the fatted calf to get sold off. You know what I mean? And I think that ties into some of our business, definitely some of our culture. Also, we have a lot of people who are geniuses at creating the culture, but they're not good stewards of it. You know what I mean? It's like the first check that looks good to them, they'll sell us out. But hold on. Let me backtrack. I don't want to say sell it out, because if you're a business person, that's just the way America works. But you create a business to be able to sell it.
You have an exit.
But the thing with black businesses, especially black cultural businesses, because we've had so few in this country, when we have something, we latch onto it and it becomes a part of our lives. It becomes a part of our culture, like Motown. Remember, a good book for people to read about this issue is To Be Loved by Berry Gordy. Berry Gordy agonized for 10 years about whether he was going to sell Motown or not. But while he was agonizing over it, Motown was steadily losing money and going down because they weren't having the same sort of hits they were having. They had lost Michael Jackson. They had lost the Jackson 5. Stevie Wonder was going through a slump. They kept trying to buy up all these groups and everything. I think the two groups that kept Motown afloat in the 80s was Rick James and DeBarge. Everything else was like catalog groups that they had going on.
DeBarge.
I know DeBarge. I know you had better said Rick James.
I said that, but that's what I'm saying.
I know you had, because Rick James kept them alive.
That's what I said. Rick James was there. Rick James was their main multi-platinum selling artist that was consistent year after year. He was selling 2 or 3 million records a year off of street songs and like Glow and all that stuff like that. But that you can't keep a company with that size and that payroll going like that. And when MCA and Sony Music and Clive Davis and everybody started saying, "Hey, I got
man,
Clive
Davis was catching people up."
You know, you need $50 million. I'll buy everything with $50 million. Here go
That
100
man got
million.
Whitney. When he got Whitney, it changed the game.
What I'm saying, because people forget this, there was a bidding war up for Whitney between Clive Davis, Walter Etnicott for CBS, and Barry Gordon.
When he won her, it changed the game.
Clive had the best check. He took her, and that was sort of like the downfall of like black R&B when it comes to like major labels. And Barry Gordon had to sell. But I'm saying, when you're a business person and you know you created this thing that's iconic for black people, it comes to a point, what do you take your feelings out of it, and when do you become a real business person? And that's what happens with a lot of our businesses, because some of us operate so close to the margin that somebody shows up with $100 million, you ain't gonna take it. You're alive. You say you ain't gonna consider it. So I'm just saying, it's a hard thing for black business people to deal with, man.
But how do you preserve something with it though, right? But how, like, if you sell it and like you put things in place, you have a succession plan. Like, we got to really think about those things. And I think, and I get it, right? I do understand, but it's like, well, this still got to be part of my legacy. And like, how do I protect it or put some safeguards in there? I also want to give Chris a shout out, because Chris has been the 70s and 80s black culture keeper tonight, bro. Rick, you better say Rick James, cuz like, what is you doing? But but I also want to give Torian, you getting shouts out. David Castillo, who is a good friend of mine, but also was a DJ, was saying you are dropping facts when you was going into this music stuff. But I do remember reading up about how crazy it was to sign Whitney Houston and how that shifted the landscape. I mean, she was the LeBron James of singing. Like, she was just a talent that people had not seen anymore. And this bidding war was crazy.
The bidding war for her was nuts, man. People don't even realize that, because it was under the scenes. It was no social media back then. Everybody wanted her.
Y'all know what else is crazy? That Clive Davis never got brought up on no charges. He ain't got to deal with no man accident. Ain't that funny? It's just, anyway, he taught them how to do it. Anyway, so I don't want to go in on Clive Davis right now and his he's
but you know what? You're circling back to my point in some ways, though, about what we consume and what we support. When Whitney Houston was going through all of that, Whitney Houston was widely not considered one of us. So I think I want people to do revisionist history. She became one of us. We eventually claimed her, but I think people forget about the "is she really black enough" thing.
Really?
Oh my God, y'all don't remember this when they polished her up?
But they tried to definitely make her the America's sweetheart.
Her first album, they polished her up to the point where black folks were like, black folks were like, I don't know what that is.
I never heard that around my people. We all love Whitney.
Oh my God, it was like we claimed her at some point. But before then, when she first came out, she wasn't like the others. And when especially when she got into that "I want to dance with somebody" stuff or whatever, all that type of hair and all that.
80s big hair.
And she hated it. People knew she hated it. She didn't like it herself or whatnot. They were trying to polish her up to make her that America's sweetheart to compete with some of the white acts of the time or whatnot. So I think my point in there was saying what we support and when we support, I think is interesting, because we didn't support her right away. The color purple got boycotted by the NAACP and by black folks or whatever.
I support that.
You supported that? You're a hater. You ain't never gonna be right until you do right by us.
Man, that's what she said.
Yes. Listen, I don't remember liking the movie.
You want to know supporting it? Remember when I like I said, I had those conversations with Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney went on this huge thing about white people taking Tina Turner. He was like,
I can hear Paul saying that.
He went on a 15-minute rant in this coffee shop when we were talking, and he was just like, and Tina was just a bad one. She was, and her husband got a bad deal. He got a bad lot because he was keeping black music alive, and she used to beat his ass. But then the white people wanted it. He went in. I can't confirm or deny none of this stuff because I said, thank you, Paul, tell me.
You're talking about my era again. They never got Tina.
I think a lot of people feel like they took Tina, man.
Bro, who was Tina's last contracts with?
Cash Money.
Tina's was a straight up hip hop label, for years.
We're talking about Tina Turner or Tina Marie.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Tina Marie.
Turner. No.
Oh, you talking about Tina Turner?
White people took Tina Turner.
Oh no, she took them. She was done with Ike. She was done with us. I remember when she said, "I don't want to sing rhythm and blues no more. I want to sing rock."
Yeah, he was so mad about it, bro. He was so livid at Tina Turner.
He should have been livid.
I beat the nut bush out of Tina, man. She didn't want to have nothing more to do with that with the Chitlin circuit over here.
Have some cake, Tina. I said have some cake, and you know what she said?
Anime.
She said, "Okay, I'm gonna have some
vanilla cake. I'm gonna have some angel food.
You know, so
I'm gonna have some angel food cake,
right?"
Are you saying that Tina Turner left that black man and never looked in our direction again? Is that what you're saying?
Here's the messed up part about it, though, is when she was down and out, down on her luck, she called Al Green, and Al Green let her cover his song for free, and that's what really brought her back. So all this, I hate the black music, I hate the R&B stuff, I want to go rock.
But here's the thing about
cut me some
that,
slack here, Tina. Tina, we you know.
But here's what's wild about that. When she got permission from Al to do that record, she was also trying to court like record labels in England. So she let a synth pop band do the remake of that, and that's what put her back on. There's a group called the Heaven 17. They were around like Depeche Mode and Duran Duran.
That's right.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Just like, and to make a just to segue a little bit, I've said this before. The 80s was the golden age of the funky white boy, because the white boys back in England was making some dope music back then. A lot of that stuff they was making was.
My mama loved George Michael, bro.
Look, everybody loved George Michael.
When the news came out, she loved George Michael.
If you play Don't You Want Me right now in a black club, everybody gonna dance. Everybody knows that track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was like,
I mean, you had Howard Jones. Yeah, you know, eventually you had Boy George.
All
and
the notes.
folks, you know, at first, crazy as Boy George looked, he was covering straight up soul songs all the time. Hall & Oates was like Hall & Oates was one of those ones where you thought they was black until you saw.
People fight you about Hall & Oates.
So they just made it. One of them just made it. Just had an interview and just broke everybody's heart because they was just like, "Would you ever?" I don't know if it was Hall or if it was Oates. You might know.
It was Oates.
And he was just like, "Oh,
he was like, which one?
He was like, no, I don't think I'd ever. You never see us again together. That was a time. It's never happening again. Like they do not like each other, and it was like
I heard
black people were like hurt. This is like a few weeks ago, touring. Like this is like recent. It's like
it was a classic scenario. With them was a classic scenario of they were equals when they started. Songwriting equals all that, and at some point, Hall became he became the main dude. Yeah, the face of the thing.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyways, listen, golden age of things. I want people, what you should get from this entire night is, there's a lot of tragedy in the world, but the 80s and the 70s was the best time for culture and the best time for music. And if we still live the way that we did then in some ways, we would do better. Horror movies. Listen, Charles Bronson made some great movies. I'm going to ask y'all to go back and watch them tonight. I'm going to ask you to go back and watch all the.
Were you a big Clint Eastwood fan? I mean, Clint Eastwood made some good ones.
You know what? I actually started liking him because I was young in some ways when he did comedies. He like, you know, Every Which Way But Loose.
Comedy.
Yeah, Every Which Way But Loose became like the type of movies he did where it was action, funny.
Hey,
he had an ape. He had a monkey in that movie.
Chris out here naming the movies that come on like 2:00 in the morning when you got 3 channels. And you're too late to get up.
Y'all know, and I know we need to. First off, we're at 2,100 people. Thank you all so much. Please share. Please continue to comment. Put your name in. Let us shout you out. 2, y'all know that Chris knows that my uncle has been ailing for a while. He's still here. He's still kicking. I had them over a little bit ago. All that man wants to watch is 2 things, and I think this is going to speak to Chris's soul: Westerns and ninja movies, and karate movies. Westerns and karate movies. Them the only movies he wanted to watch. He'd be like, Charles, put the movies on. Which movie? You know, I want to watch about the West. It's like,
and you know, there's a whole channel. Right. There's a whole streaming channel. I can't think of the name of it, but all they play is like stuff like Bonanza and Gunsmoke.
He loves Bonanza. Listen, you can't talk during Bonanza. Anything about the frontier. I don't know why this black man loves these cowboy movies. He loves it. That and kung fu movies. I don't know what it is with black people in kung fu movies from the 70s. It is what it is. I
told you this. You took me to this restaurant in Chicago that was a old school Chinese. It looked like a 1975 Chinese, red vinyl type of seats and booths and all that type of stuff. And I said to you then, this could have been 1975 in Oakland or any other place in the country, and there would have been afros all in this place right here. Black folks and Chinese food and Chinese stuff and Chinese movies and the all that stuff back in the day. There was a moment for it.
Good, and the food was so good.
It's the reason why I love Bruce Lee to this day.
The food was cheap, and they gave you. I mean, the portions. We ordered a few things.
Yes,
bro. They bringing out portions that's bigger than the whole plate for like $8, bro. It's like,
damn. When was this?
No, this was just recently
It was like
at this
a
place,
week
but
ago.
that's why I called it old school. But let me say this, because it's not going to
Let
land
me
with
hear
everybody.
you.
The reason that it was at that moment was because you talked about Huey a few times tonight.
Yeah.
It was because China and the Communist Party and communists worldwide were putting America on blast for their racial problems. And they were saying to the whole world, look, they tell you they're all about freedom and blah, blah, blah. And look how they're treating the black people. Right. And China was like, well, let us, hook you up with some theology and some ideology, whatever, blah, blah, whatever. I think that's where it came from.
That's
because
where
I can't tell you listen, the number of uncles and others that I had in my family that had read a lot of their stuff. And, a lot of that was like, they globally were trying to start new countries. They were globally trying to take third world countries and make them first world countries and say, you don't need America to do it. Today, you can't say that. Because today, you're a communist, you this, you that, or whether. It's like, well, I'd rather be a communist.
Is that what you talked about, brother? Right there, brother. That's Huey P. Newton and Mao's support for African Americans during this time.
I mean, if you read Revolutionary Suicide, you're gonna find a whole bunch of that stuff in there, right? Mm-hmm. You're gonna find a lot. He talks about it, and they were smart to do this. It wasn't just them. I mean, Russia was putting us on blast. Russia was like, oh yeah, I thought America was free. Look at these pictures of dogs being sicked on black people. Yeah. And that, truth be told, this is why they hate Derek Bell today, because Derek Bell is the one who pointed out that was the only reason we got the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. The only reason we passed civil rights legislation was because it happened at a moment where Russia started embarrassing the United States globally about don't sign up with them. They're not really about freedom.
Did you all see the there's a book y'all should read if you have, I'm sure you all read, called Brothers. It's about like black GIs in Vietnam and everything. There is a passage in that book. The name of the book is Brothers. I don't have the name of the author, but I'll look it up. You see the Bloods of Brothers, but anyway, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong used to drop leaflets when black soldiers were out on patrol, and they were basically saying, "Why are you over here fighting us when you can't even get a cup of coffee in your own homeland?" It's like, why don't you go back home and stuff like that. And everything.
They came up in Five Bloods too. In the Five, if people haven't watched it, I know people ain't loving this latest Spike Lee movie. I like it, but the Five Bloods is
that's an excellent movie. I feel like Delroy should have got an Oscar for that. That soon in the jungle.
Yeah, and Delroy is one of my best friends. His son's godfather. He loves black boys, so he shows up when I do black boy events. Mylan will call, like he called Delroy, and Delroy Lindo showed up. He splits time between London and the Bay Area. He shows up when you ask when it's about black boys. He spent like time with those young men. Super, super, super dope dude. Yeah, man. I didn't mean to jump in on y'all.
That's cool. No, but I just want to say that I just want to say what he's talking about is true. And there's also, I forgot, there was an interview I saw on the History Channel a while back when the History Channel used to do history, and they talked with some before they got in the junk. Before they got in the junk. What is it? Junk stars and junk wars and everything, and aliens built the pyramids. But anyway,
they did. By the way, they did. So
I ain't got no Reynolds rap, bro. It's too late to eat Reynolds. But anyway, they were talking with some Vietnamese veterans of the war, and they were talking about the political angles that they were using when they were fighting against the Americans. And they said one of the things they would do at the beginning of the war, when the American presence started getting more pronounced, they would actually hold their fire when they saw black units coming through, and they wait for other units to come through to start lighting them up in the jungle and everything at first. I'll talk about that. I wish I could find that interview, but they said he would do that, and they would yell at them from basically yell at them from the jungle, like, "Why are you here? Why are you doing this and everything? Go home." So
that would be hella effective though, because if you run through the field and you done had a bad day already with your people, and you're like, "I don't know, why am I here? Goddamn, I really don't know, and I got a gun too." Well, listen, might be a good day to go out. That's effective.
I wish I could bring him on here, probably, but he talked about a lot of his friends stayed over there. He just said, they got treated differently. They got some respect over there, like in those villages, even though they was at war with those people. He also said that there was just poppy everywhere and just opioids just everywhere too. So, the man is honest. He was like, it was the purest drug he'd ever seen in his life. He was like, and then they dropped Agent Orange, and it was. Listen, man, we put our people through some stuff in this country, man. I need to, while he's still here, I need to just talk to him and turn the recorder on and just fact check later and just let the man tell the stories. But I know it's late. I know we gotta let you guys go, man. This has been incredible. We are 2,150 people. Let's get into some final thoughts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Chris, man, I appreciate your topic. We all had a really good time tonight, man. Just any takeaways and anything you want to leave these people with.
Nothing profound. I'm in the middle of all this fog that I think we're in. I think we're in a fog just in general. And I didn't expect, we talked a lot about the 70s and 80s. We're living in a world right now that I probably wouldn't have expected that it would be this jacked up by now. I was probably one of those people that believed we would have the flying cars. And, by this time that we would have eradicated syphilis and, stuff like that. Stuff is piling up. Like it's getting bad. I don't know what happened. What's that?
I said,
did you say it's eradicated?
No, I said you can if you go to CVS.
Yeah, you ain't got to go out like Capone. You ain't got to go out like Capone. You don't.
I guess my main point with all that I'm saying right now is we talked around something tonight like that I don't think really got enough play, which is how do we get so corrupt and just so bad? Like everything's nasty. And everything is vituperative and mean and backwards, and there is no empathy and love and blah blah blah. We used to be like people that had pockets of people that were all about the love and all that stuff. We talked about hip hop. Whatever happened to the R&B, right? What happened to like a Jaheim, or some? Well, Jaheim got a jacked up perm, but whatever happened to we forgot some things.
Teddy Pendergrass.
I mean, listen, another love TKO.
Al
Who today could make a another?
Well, it would have been Jaheim. That was the thing. Jaheim was
that way.
Professor.
Jaheim and Tank and Joe and Joe. That's not even that old. That's not even that long ago. But it's unimaginable to me now that we don't even have like culture and music and songs or whatever that hasn't gone nasty.
Well, because this generation doesn't understand similes. They don't.
It's us too, though. It's not. Don't make it about these young people. It's about us too.
I listen to these people still. Listen. There's some great new music, but
what you know about Tank or Joe?
First off, I mean, Tank is my generation, brother.
That's not your generation. Let me look this up. We gonna look this up. Never mind. We gonna find
still active right now. What you talking about? Tank has a beautiful podcast.
Well, active, but anyways, I guess my only point in that saying is whatever happened to there needs to be some good people. There's gonna be all these bad people. There should be
Robinson. I'm sorry, I'm still naming people. I just love Smokey.
Smokey's still performing. 110 years old.
Smokey just put out a crazy ass song not that long ago. It was like, show that you, brother.
You know what,
bring it in, brother.
I want to answer Chris's question though, because here's the thing. If you look at the way things are going now, I hate to say it, but I think you're right, Chris. A lot of the things they kind of evened out our culture, even in the midst of segregation, even in the midst of like coming out of Jim Crow from the 60s and 70s. There was a level of mutual respect and love among Black people that you could feel through the culture and the music and stuff like that. And I feel like what happened, man, I think the crack era, I think mass incarceration, and I think the general brutality that Black people got subjected to even after the 70s and 80s, I think what that did was that hardened a lot of Black people. I'm using Black people as an example because this is what we're talking about today. I think that hardened a lot of things, and it took away a lot of the creativity that a lot of Black people had. Because you got to remember, while all this was going on, they started cutting funding for like art programs and music programs, things like that. So a lot of people who could express themselves in ways, because you got to remember, a lot of kids who used to play music and go into the church was trying to get away from thug shit and trying to get away from gangster shit. They said the church and the music was somewhere you could go to find a refuge and stuff. And when you started taking resources away from that, you ain't got nothing to do but either just sit with your own thoughts or hang with these cats who ain't got nothing else to do either. So what you gonna do? What do kids do? They find ways to find excitement. So they jump in cars, ride around, wild out, start doing stuff. And this is something that I talk about, and I'm actually working on something about this. That wild out shit is fun. People don't like to admit that, but when you're doing crazy stuff, that stuff is fun. I'm gonna go back to another movie for you. Remember, like on what was it, Cooley High, when they stole the cars, riding around Chicago and stuff, and wilding out. That stuff is fun until you get caught. You know what I mean? It's all.
I was about to say, did you ever see the movie Bad Boys with Sean Penn?
Yeah, I remember seeing that. But
yes, it's fun for up until the point.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's all riding around and running from the police. That's fun until you get snatched and stuff like that. And if you don't have any other outlets, that's what you're gonna fall into. You know what I mean? And that's part of it. So you don't have people who may be sensitive who go into music they get called a sucker because can't translate that into anything else. You got people who may not want to rap, but if you ain't got no other outlet and you don't see anything else around you, you don't hear the other music, that's all you're gonna do. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it as well.
You just answered my question for me 100%, and this is gonna lose people. I'm gonna end on this.
And don't forget your stuff coming up either. If you got something for me to share, I will. But continue, brother.
Everything that I was talking about came out of the church. Aretha Franklin came out of the church. Stevie Wonder came out of the church. All the Temptations and everybody else. These people came out of the church. So did all that dope music that we were talking about in England in the 80s or whatnot. That all came out of the soulful experience that came out of the church. The blues, gospel, soul, R&B, all of that, whatever, that came out of people having an experience that was common and believing in God and going to church on a regular basis. And so did a whole bunch of our best politics and civics and artists and whatever. There was a point, maybe it was when everybody got cracked out. There was a point where the church was replaced. It was replaced by other lesser institutions. And unfortunately, that had been one of our most vital centralized institutions. So unlike any other people could lose their church. They still got a government. They still got warheads and radio stations and iHeartRadio and all that. We lose our church and we lose an entire kind of power transmission system that had worked for us for years.
Yeah, like that's where most of the people I know that can play instruments learn in church. I learned how to speak. Like I'm a public speaker that gets to travel around and get paid to speak. I got that skill out of church. Like it's just one of those first places. I think you're absolutely right. Even the things that were rebellious against the church, like still blew up and is still like in proximity to that church. You know, like Little Richard is rebelling against the church, but because of that rebellion, I'm the baddest motherfucker ever. Like, but
he went back.
Yeah.
Right before he died, he's like, okay, let me go get right with God.
But everybody do that. Everybody do that when this, that man sitting on your bed and stuff. You know how to,
I mean, my man said tutti frutti, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm getting close to death. So I better clean this up.
Wasn't with us for this conversation.
That's right. He wasn't.
I don't want us to get canceled at this point with these 2,200 people. I'm just gonna ask you the question.
I know the original version of what Tutti Frutti was about. I know. I already know.
This is the thing, Torrin. We was around as the black people, and none of them knew. Me and Chris were like, "How do y'all not know this?"
Yeah. Chess Records told him to change that shit up quick because they wouldn't be able to sell that.
Oh man, if y'all are wondering what we're talking about, ask the question. You got to reach out, subscribe. But Chris, before we go to Torrin's last word, promote yourself, man. Where can they find you? What you got? What's the thing you're working on?
Citizen.substack.com. That's it. Citizen.substack.com. You can find me.
Got you. Torrin, man, what you want to leave these people with, man, and promote what you got? We got to let these people know how to find us.
I think, honestly, the whole situation we've been talking about from the first topic to the one we talk about now is a lesson, and it's also a caution. We talked about the Bible, Charlie Kirk, music, all this stuff is an example. There is power of life and death in the tongue. And what you feed is what's going to feed on you. And I think we have to be aware of that. I think it's okay to have whatever feeling you have. It's okay to have opposing views of things. But if you don't come from a place of humanity and basic humanity is going to find you one way or another. It may find you with a 7.62, or it may find you with a microphone, or it may find you with some things, with some good things and some bad things. So you just got to be aware of that. That's all we got to think about. And I think that's what we got to be aware of. What we put out into the world comes back to us, and we got to be aware of it. So how you want it to come back.
And Torrin, where you want to know what you working on, man? I know you cooking up stuff with the good doctor in
Actually,
London.
I'm going to talk about that now. Tomorrow, we're doing the third, me and Dr. Tommy Curry are doing the third episode of the Black Male Study Sessions. We're going to be talking about some very important things when it comes to activism. And some of y'all have been following my writing over the past week know what I'm talking about. We're going to have that conversation. You can find me on Substack, torrinwalker.substack.com. That's why I put a lot of my writing, even though I'm putting some of it on hold right now because I'm doing this work with Dr. Curry. And also, I'm going to be starting up my podcast again, the Torrin Walker Podcast. I'm putting together some hosts, and I'm also buying some new equipment and everything to make it sound good. I'm going to actually have it really produced. And in another couple of weeks, I'll have some things on these walls and everything, so you can actually have stuff like these other two brothers, so you don't just look at me.
Hey, man. Wait, how many people was in that last convo with you and Dr. Curry?
5,000.
5,000 people. Good Lord. Good Lord. That's a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to show that love. man, this is just one of the, I so enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you all out there did too. Three brothers, smart brothers. We do not always agree. We've actually very rarely agreed, but we believe in our people, and we just argue about ways that we should better serve each other. And I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. I too have another show. Y'all can send me the stuff beforehand. I'm not cheating because I'm about to show a cover, and Chris is gonna be like, I didn't know we had visual tools to do this. So. But Color Commentary is out. It is new. It is me going back into audio, my roots around radio and journalism. There will be 3 episodes available tomorrow. The first one is me breaking down what's happening with Uncle Nearest, going a little deeper, looking at the numbers and really just asking some questions. And then we did an episode about Starline. A lot of people don't know what Starline is as far as Marcus Garvey is concerned. And Chance the Rapper introduced Starline to a lot of young people, but they didn't know what it was. I asked a bunch. And then I also go a little deeper into this Charlie Kirk thing since it happened. So there's an episode now, but tomorrow there will be 3 episodes for you. You can find it wherever you get podcasts. Just search for Color Commentary with Dr. Charles Cole. And I would love to have y'all as guests, and anything that y'all got going on, let me know. But all of us are working, and I think that's how you get blessed. I think God helps those that help themselves. So how do we help ourselves as a people? That's Chris. That's Torrin. I'm Charles, man. Be vigilant. Take care of yourselves. But more importantly, man, take care of each other. Hold each other 6 and love each other. And let's get back to the greatest generation, apparently, of all time, of the 70s and 80s, if Chris gets to tell it. With that being said, this has been 3 the Hard Way. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.
Peace.
Yes.